Hello, my Pisces friends. This is Kristen Redman, Astrological Intuitive, and today we are going to be going over the planetary aspects that are impacting your sign for 2024. And what an interesting year it is. You have one of our slower moving planets, Saturn, that's been transiting through your sign, and it's going to continue to do so through the remainder of this year. And anytime we have these slow moving planets moving through our own sign, it is kind of a once in a lifetime pivotal type of energy that you have going on. Now, with Saturn, what Saturn is it's the planet of maturity. So you may have found that once Saturn crossed into your sign last year, that your mind started getting on matters of the future, whether that's financial, whether that has to do with the home, career, getting your affairs in order, whatever it might be. There was a lot that happened last year that added responsibility onto your plate. And that's kind of a hallmark that comes with Saturn because it likes for us to earn the things that we have. It's known as the planet of hard work. It's the planet that is the one that wants discipline and structure and order, and it makes sure that we have it in our lives. And it does so by restricting. So you may also agree that starting last year, things really started getting constricted in a lot of areas of life. And for every step you take forward, it seems like you're taking two steps back, and not really making any headway. That's kind of part of what Saturn does, because what it's trying to do is getting us to see where there are cracks in our plans and where we need to strengthen them. Now, as a Pisces, you are a water sign. You are led by what your emotions, your intuitions are telling you to do, right? And you are ruled by that planet Neptune, which is very creative, it's very imaginative, and it's easy to get caught up in the daydreams instead of what the reality might be. So we find a lot of times that our Pisces friends might be off in left field somewhere while life is happening and debt collectors are calling. You know what I mean? Or there's lots of different ways that this can take effect where we're kind of focused more on what we want things to be as opposed to how to actually tangibly get it to happen, right? And so Saturn comes around in this 29-year cycle and it says, okay, we need to start getting some structure here. We need to start getting some order and getting things in line. Now, why it's a 29-year cycle is because Saturn takes 29 years to move around the sun, right? For a year, like where we take 365 days for our revolution, 29 of our years equals 1 year in Saturn. So when it moves into a new sign or into a new house in your chart, it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal. And where that's going at for you is over that ascendant or the first house, which has to do with the way that the world sees you. You want the world to see that you've grown and that you've matured, that you take things more seriously, that you have your ducks in a row, so to say. You know what I mean? It's about um, kind of accessing the fact that, yeah, sometimes it's hard to have all these structures and plans. But the great thing is with that, we are setting our goals, right? And so that's where you find yourself at, that you're wanting to set your goals for the future and what it is that you want to do to achieve them, coming up with a plan on how to actually achieve them. That is what the power and influence of Saturn will do through the remainder of this year. Now, another thing with Saturn, what it's known for, is it's kind of a cold planet and it likes to have its distance, right? It honors the boundaries that we have. It's all about kind of setting those parameters, whether they're boundaries and limitations that we set for ourselves, so that way we can save money or do whatever it is we need to do, cut back on the junk food, do whatever. That's what Saturn likes for us to do. But it's also about setting boundaries and limitations with others. So as a Pisces, of course, you are the champion of the underdog. You're the most empathic of all the signs. You want to make sure that everybody's taken care of and that their needs and their feelings are taken into consideration. So it's extremely hard for you to say no a lot of times, right? Saturn is showing you the benefit in the word no, starting last year and going into this year as well, right? Boundaries are healthy. And I think that Pisces instinct is that it's mean to set limitations with others, it's mean to set boundaries. And really, what Saturn's doing is showing you that it's actually the healthiest thing in relationships to have expectations, boundaries, and limitations on what you will tolerate. And maybe in this past year, Saturn's been showing you what you won't tolerate. Maybe this happened within the past few years. You got to remember these slower moving planets, when they come into our sign, we feel it coming before it actually hits. So you may have actually already taken the steps in these areas as well. Maybe it's the opposite way. In astrology, it can be black or white. Maybe you have a hard time with boundaries, right? Maybe you are the one that has come here as an Pisces this lifetime to learn empathy and to not step over the boundaries of others by trying to do for them always and control things, because on the shadow side of Neptune, your ruling planet, can be a manipulative type of energy. Not saying that you're manipulative, but we all have shadows and lights, right? That's the reality of astrology. And what astrology does is it helps us to balance out the light and the darkness in ourselves and find how to balance that karma. So if you find that's the case, maybe that's what Saturn's showing you too, is the value in having those boundaries and letting people kind of be responsible for their own load too, right? That's going to be tiring if you're always trying to keep up with everybody and what they're doing, and you need to do this, you need to do that, telling them to these things. You're robbing them of that ability to be responsible for themselves and their lives, and you'll find that they really aren't responsible in their lives because, hey, you're there to do it for them, right? So Saturn's kind of showing that, right, within the course of this year as well. But um, it's definitely another thing too. I guess ultimately, no matter where you fall on that spectrum, it's a year of self-development, right? It's a year of strengthening yourself. It could be strengthening your physical body, and setting those personal goals for what you want, right? You've got a more mature perspective on how you want your life to look. And the influence of Saturn in your sign is going to be doing that, setting the scene for the next 29 years moving forward, right? So that is going to affect every area of your life. It's going to affect every area of your life. And one of the areas that is most impacted, though, in the coming year is going to be your second house of finances. Anything that you hold of value. So, of course, money's going to fall in there, your possessions fall in there, physical body is in there, but it's also our self-worth and our self-esteem, how much we value ourselves, how much we put a value on our time and our services, and how much we're getting paid for what we do. All of that falls into the category of the second house. And it's a very, very active area for you this year. We've got Mars going through there where it hasn't been for 2 years. Mars is the engine that makes things work. And when it touches houses, it takes 2 years for it to go around the wheel. So when it comes into these houses, it brings some new energy. It kind of blows out the stagnated stuff that's holding things back, and it gets things going again. Now, Mars has retrograded the past couple of years, so it's kind of been a little bit slower paced getting things moving. Mars makes that happen, right? We've got that as an undercurrent, right? Kind of pushing things along. But we also have the eclipses happening in your financial sectors, the second house and the eighth house this year. Second house deals with the money that you make. Eighth house is the money that you take, right? And the like loans, debts, your partner's money also as well. Eclipses are an amazing thing, right? And what they do, we as astrologers, we look to somebody's chart, we see where the eclipses hit for the year, and that's where we know some new beginnings and some shifts and changes are happening. Eclipses work on a 10-year cycle in these signs. So it's been 10 years since we've had this, where it's really impacted your financial sector, looking at the old outdated beliefs, which Saturn is bringing to the surface anyway, right? And then eclipses are known to help us see them and then release them, right? This is just going to be a little bit stronger of a time frame if you're really ready to make some headway on debts and your relationship with money. Now, those eclipses that I'm talking about here, hold on. Oh, I had the page open and now it's not. Here we go. So that's going to be March 25th, April 8th, and October 2nd, right? Those are going to be those eclipses that are really going to help you in terms of focusing on how you want to dwindle down that debt and get moving forward on your financial plan moving forward. Part of that comes with looking to the past and how you've had that relationship with money over the years, looking to see your thought process on it. That comes with Mercury retrogrades. And this year we have that also occurring in your second house of finances. So there's a lot of looking to the past, a lot of seeing where those issues may have come up, where that created problems. And now we're ready to be, awareness is the first step, right? Now that we're aware, we can be cognizant when those things come up and say, okay, maybe I don't need to go on a shopping spree. Maybe I should save this money and put it towards this that I need to pay for this month or whatever it might be, whatever it falls into your category here. But regardless, there's going to be a lot of looking to the past to determine how you're going to move forward in the future, right? Now, that is definitely something with all of this energy, right? Because when we recognize that, these eclipses want to bring in the new. So there may be a raise. On that other side, maybe your partner starts to make more money, and then that helps with this new plan moving forward. There's a lot of ways in which these eclipses really shine a light on money, how much we need it, how much we value ourselves too. Remember, that falls into it too. When Saturn goes through our sign, it's very sobering. It's a very sobering thing. And it makes us really hard on ourselves. Maybe your self-worth is taking a dent, right? Maybe it's taken a ding. And these eclipses really help for us to re-establish our self-esteem and how we view ourselves. We give ourselves a little bit more compassion. You're most empathic of all the signs. You give it to others, give it to yourself, right? And that's what these eclipses are going to do. Not because of where it's landing in your second house. We actually are starting the trend of the Pisces Virgo eclipses that start in 2025. So the first one this year is going to be in your sign on September 17th. I think you're going to see a lot in terms of what verbiage you're saying to yourself, how you treat yourself, and if you're being compassionate enough, right? You're going to be seeing ways in many areas of life, maybe where there's cracks in the areas that we were talking about earlier, but maybe things on what really, really need to change. You are going to be going through this period where there's all this stagnation, things are slowed down. You're being forced to slow down and tighten your belt here. But next year, things get moving. In 2025, they get moving under the power of these eclipses, and you're going to see a preview of that when that September 17th eclipse comes in. Now, let's move on to home, huh? How about we do that? So, what we have happening is a 12-year cycle of Jupiter in Gemini. And when Jupiter is in Gemini, it is a time frame for expanding communication, right? Fourth house has to deal with home and family. So if there's been some issues, okay, let's say there's been some difficulties on being heard with family and those that you consider family, Jupiter moving through your sign, this is a 12-year cycle, coming in is working to patch those cracks up as well. Kind of like how Saturn does it. Jupiter gives us these opportunities where maybe you don't see a way, it does. Jupiter also going through that fourth house is a time frame. Jupiter is a planet of luck, opportunity, expansion. It gives us blessings when we're not really understanding how it's going to work. We're just going on faith that it is. And that's when miracles happen, right? Is when we have the faith. So that's what Jupiter carries with it. And as it comes into that house of home and family, there become opportunities maybe to move into a new home, maybe to expand, right? Because that's what Jupiter does, is expand, build on, remodel your own home. Maybe you're bringing people into the home, whether it's a new baby, or maybe you are getting married and you're merging homes together, or whatever it might be. Jupiter has a way of doing that. Fourth house also deals with mom, and so there may be really beneficial healing and growth with mom, or the nurturing of yourself. And Jupiter just landing in that house is about security. What do you need to feel secure? And Saturn's helping you see that anyway with the financial sector. What is it that you need to feel safe and secure in your environment? And Jupiter will help you to achieve that in this coming year as well. So that's always a wonderful thing. Always a wonderful thing. I see time and again when clients come to me and I see Jupiter in their fourth house, they're either in the process of trying to sell their house or buy a house, and they just don't know how it's going to happen. They have no clue how it's going to happen. And Jupiter doesn't need to have a plan like Saturn. Jupiter can find ways to just make things happen. So whether that's like a realtor that finds something before it even hits the market, you walk up to somebody's house, and you ask them if they're ever interested in selling, and all of a sudden they do. And there's all these things. Maybe you're worried about the state of the economy right now. And that's another thing too, that Jupiter can override that. Yes, I see what it looks like in the natural right now. I see that we have interest rates at an all-time high. I see that the housing market is still very difficult to find things, right? A lot of that has to deal with Uranus, the planet of unexpected things, going through Taurus, the sign that deals with the economy, money, the healthcare system. Now, the last time that this 80-year cycle of Uranus going around the sun and being in Taurus was during the Great Depression. And look at the instability that Uranus brought in that time frame to the economy, to healthcare, to all these things. I mean, there was tons of different pandemics and plagues and obviously the financial situation as well too with the Great Depression. That's just unreal. Then it comes back around again. Guess when it landed? Guess when it landed back in there? March 20th, 2020. Look at the upheaval, unexpected craziness that occurred with Uranus moving in to Taurus again. Now, where there can be unexpected losses, there can be incredible unexpected gains with this as well too. So as an astrologer, this entire pandemic and such has not worried me, because I know that for as fast as it can go down, it can turn around. It makes its biggest impact when it goes in, and then again when it leaves, and it finally leaves in 2025. So if this is something where you are wanting to move, you are wanting to get a bigger house, right? Because Jupiter wants you to expand. You need to put your faith in Jupiter, because that's what it is, right? Not your fear and the natural with it, because things will change around. They will. It will. That's just how it astrologically goes. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well too. Now, in the house of love and marriage, in that seventh house, we also have Mercury retrograde happening there. And remember, I was talking a little bit earlier about communication and family and all of these things. This is where Mercury is the planet of communication. And when it retrogrades, this year it's retrograding in all of the fire signs. So it's about how we act on the things that we say. Maybe you'll find that there's some crossed wires with that this year with relationship. It's just a matter of just doing what you say you're going to do, making sure the other person is doing what they say they're going to do, and make sure that that communication is clear, right? Fire likes things dry, cut now, make it happen. You know what I mean? Not watery and ambiguous. So this is something where these Mercury retrogrades are really going to work on strengthening the communication lines in relationship of all kinds, but it may create a little bit of chaos and miscommunication in the process. So when you have those times, just breathe with it and ask the universe what it's trying to show you that you just might not see. Absolutely. So what we're going to do now is look at specific birthdays, right? These slower moving planets out there in the sky, they make once in a lifetime connections to our sun signs at times, and those are pivotal points in life. These will be specific for certain birthdays. You might find that all of them apply to you, and you know what? They probably will. Um, you've had your ruling planet Neptune going through your sign, and that guy is actually leaving next year as well too. That's been there since 2009. And so you've been doing this whole reconfiguration of your self-concept, who you are and how the world sees you. And as it's getting ready to leave, there's probably a lot in here where you have kind of gone through the gamut of all of these. But take what resonates, leave what doesn't. That's what I say, right? We know best for ourselves. But if you want to look at your specific chart and how these things impact you directly, I have a link below for how you can get a reading with me and we can do it by Zoom. But in general, March 17th to the 21st, that Neptune, the planet I was talking about that's doing this whole revamping of you, has aligned with your sun. Now, I think all Pisces have already felt this energy regardless since 2009, but you're really, really feeling it now. And if this is something that you've been avoiding for all these years, it's hitting very close to home now, where you're letting go of old ideas, old belief systems, and concepts of who you are, or I should say who you were, right? Now you're imagining where you want to be, who you want to be, and you've got Saturn behind you helping you to build that. You're embracing all that you can be. You're sacrificing because really Neptune and Pisces is about the sacrifices that we have to make. So you're sacrificing some things, and those sacrifices might need to be made. So whether that is relationships, jobs, friendships, um, the need to go shopping, like we were saying, there's things, right, that are helping you to evolve to this next level of who you are. And with it being Neptune, it's a very spiritual planet. I think this will be a year where you're really focused on building and strengthening that connection with the universe, with God, with whatever you see as that higher power, right? March 11th to March 19th, Uranus is out there making a really good connection to your sun. Now, Uranus is that planet of unexpected things that we talked about earlier that's creating all this craziness and such in the economy. But it's also kind of triggering that in you, which makes for a restless energy where you want change, right? You are ready. You are aware of everything that needs to change. You are ready to shed the old, and Uranus is here to help you with that in this coming year. You just want to be free to be you. And I say do it. Right? I say do it. Listen to your intuition. If your birthday's between February 24th and March 11th, so pretty much everybody, Saturn is aligning with your sun. And so we talked about that right out of the gate here. That's where those responsibilities are kind of piling on, and the need to set better limits and boundaries to accommodate all of this extra pressure that's getting put on you. Keep in mind, my Pisces friends, you can only tolerate energetically so much. So this is going to be a year where you really need to focus on coming up with a routine. Saturn loves routines, to really discharge of that excess energy, because if you keep it built up in you, Pisces rules the head, so you are going to be, and the feet, you are going to be getting some pretty massive migraines if you're not discharging this excessive energy. So I say do that. So if you feel it's a pressure testing year, it's making you stronger. It's getting you a stronger sense of self and where it is that you want to be. So last thing I'm going to leave you with here is the moons, right? Everybody on this planet, we have the ability to manifest what it is we want in our lives. We, as psychic practitioners, we help you see the potential of what can be. If you stay on the path, if you do this, if you do that, we help kind of guide you. But ultimately, you are the one that creates your life. If you don't like what we tell you, you can change it. You know, that's the magic that people don't realize. We are the co-creators of our reality, and we can manifest things whenever we want, but there are certain time frames that are better astrologically, and for manifesting what it is we want, dreaming what we want, and putting those intentions to the universe, we do it at a new moon cycle. Yours, the Pisces new moon, is going to be on March 10th, and that's a really pivotal time frame for you to put those seeds into the universe. Full moons are when we release. That's when we kind of surrender the things that aren't working anymore. So for you, the best time to do some releasing of things is September 17th. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't release things that don't work in between then, but you might find as that full moon comes up, you know how full moons work, things go crazy when it's a full moon time. And so you may be already aware of what needs to be released by that time anyway. So no big surprise there. But all of that kind of covers the gamut. I say just follow what your intuition tells you, not the imagination, but the intuition in our higher self. And really know that it may be a pressure testing year, but that's going to be a diamond at the end waiting for you. Have a wonderful year. Thank you.